Our next guest is a retired Navy SEAL and a recipient of the Medal of Honor for his heroic actions in the Vietnam War. He is here to talk to us today about celebrating Memorial Day at the National Medal of Honor Museum and Monument. Please welcome retired U.S. Navy SEAL Michael Thornton. Welcome.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, how important is it to you that this monument and museum are built to recognize those who have received the highest honor in our country?
I think the museum is a great honor. I think going on this, but this museum is going to be for all veterans. The Medal of Honor Society, we just are glad to get out there and help support, so all veterans can have this great understanding about what they've done for this great nation of ours.
Sir, today is a very special day. How are you spending it?
With my family, of course, during these trying times, but every day to me is Memorial Day. I thank all our veterans every day of my life for us to have this great freedom we have today. And it's for them given the utmost.
You know, Mike, the thing that's interesting about people like you is that Memorial Day means so much more, I would imagine, because a lot of your fellow sailors and soldiers, when you were serving, you know, had their lives taken. And that's what this day is all about, is recognizing their service and sacrifice. So how do you remember them, and how has Memorial Day changed for you from when before you went over to Vietnam since coming home?
I think it's the horizon is got, as older we get in life, you never forget those kids that you lost. This morning, I read off a list of names of Navy SEALs who were killed with me, my brothers, during Memorial Day. So we need to carry this on in this great country called America. And Texas has taken the step up to start this museum. And it's my honor and all the recipients' honor to actually help make this happen.
You know, so to many out there, this day is a holiday, but to people like you, it's a day to remember, like you're saying, your fellow soldiers who fought with you. What do you hope that people understand and remember about Memorial Day? What is your message to them?
That freedom is not free. Freedom is written in blood. And that's the reason we cherish that great flag of ours. So if more people take this not as, you know, they feel entitled, but they're not entitled. Love this country and do the most you could possibly do for
it. You know, Mike, it's interesting. In this day and in this culture, we can rattle off celebrities' names and people who have a lot of YouTube followers or Twitter followers. But I think one of the things that I think is so amazing about the museum and the monument you're doing is that the people who we really should know the names of are people like you and people who have made that sacrifice for our country that give us the freedom to do so much of what we do. And I think it's so fitting that there's a monument and a museum that people can go in and read these heroic actions that so many of our brothers and sisters in America have done to allow us to have a day off and live so freely.
Well, you know, we have to speak for the ones that cannot speak any longer, Sean. And that's what we're doing with this beautiful museum and statue. And to let them know that they'll never be forgotten and never forgiven for what they've stood for in this great nation.
Mike, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your service, and happy Memorial Day to you, sir.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Lindsay. God bless.
Since America has fought wars around the world, there are fallen service members who have not made the trip home. The American Battle Monuments Commission serves as the guardian over Americans overseas and their ceremonies and memorials. Paul Prince is the Deputy Public Affairs Director for the organization, and he joins us now. Mr. Prince, thank you so much for being with us here today.
And thank you for having me.
Paul, you know, it's interesting. I don't know that people stop and think about it sometimes, but places like Normandy, right? Those are places where you have a lot of American service members buried. How many of these places are there? How are they taken care of? And does the government of where they are, you know, help defray the expense of them?
Absolutely. So the American Battle Monuments Commission has responsibility of 26 cemeteries and 30 monuments around the world. Our commemorative cemeteries memorialize the stories and legacies of more than 200,000 U.S. service members who served during World War I and World War II, as you said before, that unfortunately did not make it home.
when these cemeteries are in a foreign country, right? If you have an embassy, that's considered, the part of that country, right? So our embassy in another country is considered U.S. territory. How are these cemeteries handled? So is our cemetery in Normandy U.S. property, or is that sort of on loan from the government there? I mean, how does that all work?
Yes. So our cemeteries, all 26 of them, are U.S. military cemeteries. We have superintendents at each cemetery who supervises the operations there. The cemetery superintendents work closely with local authorities and the local embassies for commemorations such as this. During our Memorial Day tapings, we did have local mayors come out and provide some awesome remarks in honor of our fallen service members.
Mr. Prince, thank you so much for being here with us today on this very special occasion and for being a part of taking care of these special sites overseas as well.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Coming up, a Memorial Day tribute from the Secretary of the VA.